of going along. Obviously, First, Second Chronicles was written to the Israelites in captivity in Babylon, which they completely deserved, and God was merciful in making it only 70 years, and actually blessed them a lot while they were there, in so many different ways. But at the end of the 70 years, as promised by the prophets, by name, Cyrus, king of the Persians, made a declaration saying everybody can go home. Those who want to go home can go home and build the temple. Anybody not going, put up some cash. Put up some stuff, and we'll bring out the articles that we brought from Jerusalem to Babylon, from the temple. We'll give you those back and everything like that. And they headed out. About 50,000 headed out. That's a good number. 50,000 headed out with all the treasure. And I want to keep noting that they made sure that those who were claiming to be priests were actually priests. As you can imagine, after 70 years, especially since the years leading up to those 70 years, things were in a bit disarray. Remember, at one point they completely lost the law, right? And there were probably some people practicing at that time who probably were not really priests or not Levites and not, doing things they weren't supposed to. So they showed their interest in doing it right. And where would they learn that lesson? Well, from the Chronicles, right? When they didn't do things right, like David, right? When he didn't have Levites actually carrying the ark, things go wrong, right? They learned the lesson. Is that good? Give him a hand. Zerubbabel is the one, and he is in the line of David. Grandson of Jehoiakim, so he's on that, not as a king, but as a governor, because the area is still owned by the Persians. And the first thing they do when they get there is build an altar, so they can get the sacrifices going and things like that. And then they start building the foundation of the temple. And everybody said hooray, except for those few who had seen the old one. And they're like, kind of disappointing. It's like, we haven't even built it yet. We're already like, so they get the foundation in there. Of course, when you start making progress, what happens? Enemy comes in. Right? And their first salvo was, hey, let us help. He's like, no. And this is our God, our people. And they said, well, we've been talking about that guy for some time. It's like, no. He's not a God. He is the God, our God. And no. So they went and complained to the Persian king. And he said, yes, this group has been a troublemaker for some time, so let's stop. And they what? Stopped. Right? They showed respect, and they stopped building. The only problem is, when he was dead, they didn't start. Right? It's like, wait a minute. So they sent Haggai in particular, plus Zechariah. God sent some prophets to them to say, hey, what's taking you so long? Darius is now the king. He hasn't said stop. So get started again. So they finally got started making tremendous progress, which brought out what? Adversaries. Same guys are like, hey, we got to stop them. We got to stop them from doing this. And their question was a little different. The first time was, are they troublemakers? And the answer was, yeah. They tended to be troublemakers, right? All troublemakers. But the second question was, did Cyrus really say, come and build the temple? And when Darius looked that up, the answer was, yes, he did. So he followed suit. His decree was, they can continue building, and all the revenues from the area will go to the Israelites for the building of the temple. And everybody's got to put up some animals for the sacrifices in that temple. And if anybody tries to hinder them, I'm going to take a post from their house, hang them on it, and destroy everything they own. He wasn't messing around. And then they were able to what? Finish the temple. And I want to go back and look at Haggai real quick. Let's go look at Haggai. Again, if you want to find Haggai, go to Matthew. Make a left. And go back through Malachi, Zechariah, and you'll find Haggai. These are the last three prophets of the Old Testament. And in Haggai chapter 2, this is when the temple is completed. In chapter 2, verse 1, the 7th month, in the 21st day of the month, came the word of the Lord by the prophet Haggai, saying, speak now to Zerubbabel the son of Shealtiel, governor of Judah, and to Joshua, or Yeshua, the son of Josedek, the high priest, and to the rest of the people, saying, who is left among you that saw this house, the temple of God, in her first glory? And how do you see it now? Is it not in your eyes comparison of it as nothing. God knew their heart. Does God always know our heart? And there were some, and they'd have to be pretty old. But would you say they were of sturdy stock? Because they did make the trip, and they have been going through this, and they did help with the building. So yeah. So, but they're looking at it going, this is this is okay. Certainly not what our God is deserving. But he reminds them of something about this temple. This particular building is going to receive more glory than any other building. Because who is coming to that building?
God, Jesus.
Jesus Christ is coming. Let's jump down to verse 7. And I will shake all nations, and the desire of all nations shall come. And I will fill this house with glory, saith the Lord of hosts. When he says the desire of all nations, that is a reference in the Old Testament to who? The Christ. Christ, the desire of all nations. Why is the Christ the desire of all nations? Because it is the one through whom all the world will be blessed in accordance with God's promise to Abraham, right? That one of the seed of Abraham will come along, and through him all the world will be blessed. He is the desire of nations, and he will come, and when he comes, I will fill this house with glory, saith the Lord of hosts. The silver is mine, and the gold is mine, saith the Lord of hosts. I would read that as kind of like, don't get so hung up that there isn't much of it. I own it all anyways. That's not a big deal. Verse 9, the glory of this latter house shall be greater than that of the former, saith the Lord of hosts. It may have less silver, it may have less gold, but its glory is going to be far greater than the old Solomon temple. And in this place will I give peace, saith the Lord of hosts. What a great prophecy, isn't it? And it is in this building, the one that some are crying about. It isn't quite nice. Everybody else is excited about it, because they have the temple back. But God wants to remind them this is a good thing. And this one will be blessed, and this is where he will come. And then what do they do next? Let's go back to Ezra now. Ezra chapter 6. And what do they do? Again, to me, learning from Chronicles. Right? You got what they always got in trouble when they forgot the Passover. When they stopped holding the Passover, because what's the purpose of the Passover? To what? Remind them. Why did Jesus Christ set for us, as often as we do it, this communion so that we would what? Remember. The Passover is a remembrance. And in Chronicles, when they stopped doing Passover, they started to what? Forget. Forget who is the one. And how many times did God have to, I am the one that brought you out of Egypt by my mighty hand. I'm the one that brought you into this land. I have done this. And what was supposed to remind them of that? Passover. So now they're in the land. Now they have the temple done. And what do they decide to do? Passover. Chapter 6, verse 19. And the children of the captivity kept the Passover upon the 14th day of the first month. For the priests and the Levites were purified together. Again, that was brought up several times in Chronicles, how the priests were not even purified. They were so far away from God, and they weren't even ready to do Passover. But they were ready. They were ready, they were purified, they were ready to do it. All of them were pure and killed the Passover for all the children of the captivity, and for their brethren the priests, and for themselves. And the children of Israel, which were come again out of captivity, and all such as had separated themselves unto them from the filthiness of the heathen of the land, to seek the Lord God of Israel, did eat. So it wasn't just, okay, these 50,000, you're the one, you're in the club, you come along, but anybody else was welcome if they were what? One of God's children. It's kind of like communion, right? I'm always amazed how many churches are like, you've got to be a member of this church. You have to do this, this, and this, and this in order to take communion with us. God's like, hey, everybody come if you're what? If you're one of my children, right? And anybody of the land, anybody from Israel, the 10 tribes of the north who wanted to come down and celebrate with them, who put their faith in the coming Christ and purified themselves, everybody was welcome to come who were right with God. And they did come. And they did what? Verse 22, and kept the feast of unleavened bread 7 days with joy. For the Lord had made them joyful, and turned the heart of the king of Assyria unto them, to strengthen their hand in the work of the house of God, the God of Israel. So everything's turning up roses, right? Things are looking good. But at this point, what's the name of this book again? Ezra. So who do you think this story should be about? Ezra. There's a story about Ezra. Someone get that reference. But actually, Ezra hasn't been part of any of this yet. He's been part of zero of this. Now, he may be one of the ones that gave money and things like that for the people to go back, but he did not go back. He's not one of the 50,000. And it's much later that he comes in at this point and says, it's time for me to go back. And I'm going to come back, and this is called the second group of returnees. Okay? There are three. One at the decree of Cyrus, one at the decree of Artaxerxes, and then a third one is in Nehemiah, which is some years after Ezra. So there's kind of, build the wall. So there's kind of three different groups come back from captivity, which is kind of funny because there's about basically three groups that left in captivity. That's how long it took them. Now they're coming back, and he decides, the Lord puts it on his heart to come back. Chapter 7 of Ezra. Now after these things, in the reign of Artaxerxes, king of Persia, Ezra the son of Seraiah, the son of Azariah, the son of Hilkiah, the son of Shallum, the son of Zadok, the son of Ahitub, the son of Amariah, the son of Azariah, the son of Marioth, the son of Zariah, the son of Uzi, it's Uzai, and the son of Buki, the son of Abishua, the son of Phinehas. That's now we're hitting some familiar. Ahitub also, some Zadok, some familiar during the time of David. The son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest. So, who is Ezra? Ezra is a priest. He's a priest of priests. He's a high priest, right? He's of the line of Aaron. Okay? So that means he's also related to who? Moses. So this is that line. He's a high priest line. Okay? Not just some Levite who does the work of that. He is a high priest line. Okay? And he is still sitting there. And what happens? Verse 6. This Ezra went up from Babylon, and he was a ready scribe in the law of Moses, which the Lord God of Israel had given. And the king granted him all his requests according to the hand of the Lord his God upon him. So Ezra decides, it is time for me to go back. And you can kind of see in his job description, he's a scribe of the law. He is learned in the law. Now, do they have some priests already?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, do they have some Levites already? Mm-hmm. They've got that, but what does God know? If you leave some people to their own devices without pure spiritual authority over them, what are they going to do?
Good.
Yeah, I don't care who they are. I don't care how wonderful and good-hearted they are, they're going to drift. So it is at this time, after everything's been filled, and they're doing it. They're doing the Passover. They're doing the sacrifices. They're doing all the festivals. They're doing what they're supposed to do, the daily prayer. Everything's going on in motions like it's supposed to. But God says, now is the time to send somebody to make sure they stick to the law. And I'm sending a high priest type. Somebody with pedigree. Somebody who is a scribe and knowledge. And who is the one behind all this? It's clearly God, according to the hand of the Lord his God upon him, right? He chose him. He moved the king to let him go and said, go. Verse 7. And there went up some of the children of Israel, of the priests, of the Levites, the singers, and the porters, and the Nethinims, unto Jerusalem in the 7th year of Artaxerxes the king. So Artaxerxes the king, in his 7th year, it was in the 6th year that the temple was done. So this is about a year later that he's coming in, and he's coming in to make sure they stick to the law. Verse 8, and he came to Jerusalem in the 5th month, which was in the 7th year of the king. And upon the first day of the 1st month began he to go up from Babylon. And on the first day of the 5th month came he to Jerusalem, according to the good hand of his God upon him. For Ezra had prepared his heart to seek the law of the Lord, and to do it, and to teach in Israel statutes and judgments. So why is he going? He's going, first of all, because he prepared his heart, right? And that's very much like Daniel, where he prepared his heart to do what is right. He has prepared his heart to follow the Lord, to not just know the law, but also do the law, and also then to what? Teach and hold people accountable, right? That's his job. And God has picked him to do this, and he heads out from Babylon. Does he head out alone? No, of course he doesn't. Who would head out alone? Right? Back and look at verse 11. Now this is the copy of the letter that the king Artaxerxes gave Ezra the priest, the scribe, even a scribe of the words of the commandments of the Lord and the statutes to Israel. So he goes to the king. King says, you want to go? Well, in order to do anything in that particular kingdom, you had to have a letter. Right? You had to have a hall pass, right? You can't just wander around. You can't just do things. You can't just leave, right? You got to do this. So he goes to Artaxerxes, and he gets a letter. And what does the letter say? Verse 12. Artaxerxes, king of kings. They like to call themselves that. Persians love to call themselves kings of kings. How many know that there is somebody in the world right now that still calls himself the king of kings of Persia?
With the Iranian, somebody in Iran?
Somebody around, yeah. So that's a thing. So down through the line, they track themselves and stuff like that. And they're the king of kings. I hate to tell them this, but he ain't close. They aren't even king of their own country. But, people can say whatever they want. He actually is. And is he kind of the king of kings? I mean, of the world. Not heaven. But, they rule over all the other nations. So, yeah, that's his title, right? Unto Ezra the priest, a scribe of the law of God of heaven, perfect peace and at such time. So, just say, I give you peace at this time. I make a decree. And when the Persian king makes a decree, it is what? Law. That all they of the people of Israel and of his priests and Levites in my realm, which are minded of their own free will to go up to Jerusalem, go. This is very similar to what Cyrus said. Anybody want to go? Go. For as much as you are sent of the king and of his 7 counselors to inquire concerning Judah and Jerusalem according to the law of thy God, which is in thine hand, and to carry the silver and gold which the king and his counselors have freely offered unto the God of Israel, whose habitation is in Jerusalem, and all the silver and gold that thou canst find in all the province of Babylon, with the freewill offering of the people, and the priests offering willingly for the house of their God, which is in Jerusalem. Again, very similar to what Cyrus said. You want to go? Go. If you're going to go, the first one was go build the temple. This one is what? Make sure the law is being fulfilled in your land. And what do they take? We're giving you some money, and you can go around to anybody you want and ask them for money, and they can give it to you. And you'll take it with you. Verse 17, that thou mayest buy speedily with this money bullocks, rams, lambs, and with their meat offerings and their drink offerings, and offer them upon the altar of the house of your God, which is in Jerusalem. And I found that interesting this week, because I kept reading that. Every decree was like, okay, animals. What does that give animals? Because you have to remember, in their mind, how do you make gods happy? Feed them. You sacrifice something. Whether it's, the fruits of the land, or animals, or some terrible ones, children, or whatever it was. And so they always go there. But I find this interesting, is he's setting them particularly not just to build a temple, not just to have offerings, not just to sacrifice, but actually to fulfill the law of God. That's a little different. This is a little twist for Ezra. That he's going back not to build walls, not build temples, but actually the decree of Artaxerxes is go and fulfill the law of your God. As a scribe of the people of your God. Right? Verse 18, and whatsoever seemed good to thee and to thy brethren to do with the rest of the silver and the gold, that do after the will of your God. So if you got some money left over after building everything and making the place look nice and golding and gilding everything you like, and you want to keep it, you can do something else with it. Verse 20. Verse 19. The vessels also that are given thee for the service of the house of thy God, those deliver thou before the God of Jerusalem, and whatsoever more shall be needed for the house of your God, which you shall have occasion to bestow it out of the king's treasure house. You need more? Here's a blank check. That's crazy. How is God doing this? These are not godly men. I don't really believe in him as the one true God, creator of all things, savior of all people. No. But He's put in their heart to give them all these things, and they are giving freely, right? Plus, it also reminds you, how much money do they have? They have basically ransacked the entire world and taken treasures from everybody, right? So they got a lot of stuff, but they are willing to do this to appease the God of Israel. Why is Ezra going? To worship the God of Israel, right? Verse 21, and I, even I, Artaxerxes the king, do have a decree to all the treasurers which are beyond the river, so on the other side of the Euphrates, that whatsoever Ezra the priest, the scribe of the law of God of heaven, shall require of you, it be done speedily. Unto 100 talents of silver, and to 100 measures of wheat, and to 100 baths of wine. That's a lot of wine. And to 100 baths of oil and salt, without describing how much. As much salt as they can take. And you say, what's the big deal? I got salt everywhere. Have you remember back then, salt was gold. Man, salt was important for preservings of meat and for, keeping things cool. I mean, it's amazing what salt was needed for. And whatever they will need there. Verse 20, that whatsoever is commanded by the God of heaven, let it be diligently done for the house of the God of heaven. For why should there be wrath against the realm of the king and his sons? And there's the reason. Why would this almighty king of the world help this little guy? Because I don't want their God to be mad at me. And this is their mindset. This is the Persian mindset. Let's make all the gods happy. Because we don't know which ones are real. So let's make them all happy. Every land's got a god. Let's make them all happy, right? But why is Ezra gone? Because he knows the law, right? To worship in the house of God, which has now been constructed, and to ensure the people are following the law. Verse 23, whatsoever is commanded by the God of heaven, let it be diligently done for the house of God of heaven. For why should there be wrath against the realm of the kings of his sons? Verse 24, also, we certify you that touching any of the priests of the Levites, singers, porters, Nethinims, or ministers of this house of God, it shall not be lawful to impose toll, tribute, or custom upon them. Tax-free. That's nice, huh? I think it just makes sense that anybody who's a pastor or like that shouldn't have to pay any taxes either.
And singers.
It just makes sense. And anybody who's a singer, yeah, definitely.
You can't sing.
And those Nethinims, that David appointed those. That was a group that David appointed for service in them. Anyway. so, verse 25. And you, Ezra, after the wisdom of your God that is in thine hand, set magistrates and judges, which may judge all the people that are beyond the river, all such as know the laws of thy God, and teach you them that know them not. God, I'm giving you to judge, right? Again, this is what it's doing. We've got the service up, we got the worship up, but we also need what? Somebody to make sure people are following it, right? In the Old Testament, during the time when they came in the Promised Land, God used judges, right? Later on, they chose a king. That was the king's job, and the priest's job, and the Levite's job. Make sure people are doing the right thing. So he's giving him, basically, that religious structure to the land. To teach the people who don't know the law, and to hold those who know it accountable. That's right. And this is the whole purpose he is sending him to do this for them. Verse 26, and whosoever will not do the law of your God, and the law of the king, let judgments be executed speedily upon him, whether it be unto death, or to banishment, or to confiscation of goods, or to imprisonment. That's kind of the whole gamut, right? You can do anything. How much power is being given to Ezra? You say, wait a minute, isn't that this guy's job? He's a governor. But again, it wasn't in their mind his job. His job is just to kind of keep the roads going and keep the trains running on time if they had trains. His was the administrative side, make sure taxes are collected and distributed and all that kind of stuff. Even the Persian king understands there needs to be that religious rule as well. Make sure the people stay on it, and that's your job. And what was Ezra's response? What was your response? Thank you. Thank you. O king, thank you. Verse 27, blessed be the Lord God of our fathers, which hath put such a thing as this in the king's heart. to beautify the house of the Lord which is in Jerusalem. All that money, all that gold, all the silver, that's to beautify it, not to build it. That's already done. But to beautify it, and hath extended mercy unto me before the king and his counselors, and before all the king's mighty princes. And I was strengthened as the hand of the Lord my God was upon me, and I gathered together out of Israel chief men to go up with me. So he just goes around and says, I got this decree, let's go, folks. He started gathering people together. All right? What do you notice about the Thanksgiving? It really wasn't to Artaxerxes. It was to who? God. Because it was not Artaxerxes' idea. Who put it in his heart?
The Lord.
The Lord did. Lord, you are great. Thank you. Should we be thankful?
All the time.
Should we be thankful for the freedoms we have in this country? Should we be thankful that we can gather together like this? Be thankful for that? Who should we thank above all else? The Lord. Right? He is the one. He's the reason we have these things. It's not mankind's best ideas. No. It is God who puts it in their heart, right? So, we're going to spend the next hour and a half walking through everybody who went with them and what they mean. No, we're not. We're not going to do that. So, if you want to sleep well tonight, just start reading chapter 8 and read verses 1 through 14. And I guarantee you by verse 8 you're going to be asleep. Because it's just one person after another, after another, after another. A list, a list, a list. These are the people coming, and let's give them all credit. And this is important. We say that, but I can't pronounce half these names. And you stumble through them. But it was important. For registration, for who's coming, who's leaving Babylon, who's coming into, all that kind of stuff. It's important. And they get it all together and everything like that. But then they realize we're lacking some people. The question was, okay, who's your family, right? Oh, I'm from Benjamites. Oh, I'm from Judah. I'm Simeon. I'm of this, I'm of that. And they start going through all the people who were of Judah. There are probably, maybe a few, maybe Israelites even, who from Israel, one of the other tribes who had gone away because they were living in Judah. But everybody needed to be an Israelite, right? Who was going to go back. And they started looking around and they said, wait a minute. Where are the Levites? Because again, we're going to need those.
Yeah.
Because you keep bringing more people in. Again, they're running fine. They've been going for about a little over a year now. And they've been running it. But if we keep bringing more people in, we're going to need more people, right? Because what can stop them from doing the right thing? They get tired. Right? They get overwhelmed, and they're just like, okay, well, we'll cut a corner here, cut a corner there. You don't want that. We need Levites. Verse 15. And I gathered them together to the river that runneth through Ahava, and there abode we in tents 3 days, and I viewed the people and the priests, and found there was none of the sons of Levi. Did I get the memo? Maybe they didn't have their phone that day. I don't know. But it's kind of weird that not a single Levite.
Well, and they had the guarantee of no taxes.
Yeah, that's right.
And they didn't show up.
They didn't show up. So for some reason, they really weren't paying attention or something, and none of them showed up. Verse 16. Then sent I for Eleazar, for Ariel, for Shemaiah, and for Elnathan, and for Jerub, and for Elnathan. Wait a minute. Did we just say him? I'm sure it's another Elnathan. You know what I mean? It'd be like going through the list, and there's Bob, and then there's Connie, and Virginia, and then Bob, and then... I'm not saying Bob. Another Bob. Bob's everywhere.
Robert.
And for Nathan... And by the way, Elnathan just means son of Nathan. So then you got Nathan. And for Zechariah, probably not the priest. And for Meshullam, chief men. Also for Jorib. And for Elnathan. Another one? That must have been a really popular name. Men of understanding. So it gets kind of counseled together, right? And I sent them with commandment unto Edo, the chief at the place Casiphia. Now, should Edo seem familiar to you? Zechariah is the son of who? Edo. So the prophet of God is the son of Edo, and Edo is a chief man in this area of Casiphia. Okay? And I told them that they should say unto Edo and to his brethren, the Nethinims, at the place Cassiphia, and they should bring unto us ministers for the house of our God. What I assume from that is basically Levites were all kind of in one area. And they were all hanging out there, and Edo was kind of the leader of the area, and just nobody had gone. So they counseled together and said, didn't you go there? No, I didn't go there. Did you go there? That's all I picture in my head. I don't know if that's how it went, but I could see how that could happen, right? Because again, they didn't have mass emails. They didn't have a database. It's like nobody evidently went there. So he sends people over there to tell them. And what happened, verse 18, and by the good hand of our God, upon us they brought a man of understanding of the sons of Mali, the son of Levi, the son of Israel. So this is high again. And Sherebiah, which is the sons of the brethren, 18. And Hashabiah, and with him Jeshiah of the sons of Merari, his brethren and their sons, 20. Also the Nethinims, whom David and the princes had appointed for the service of the Levites, 220 Nethinims. All of them were expressed by name. So they send, and of course, do they send people? Yeah. Some can be traced all the way back to Levi himself, right? Meaning, right down the line, Levi, Israel. I mean, this is these guys. Merari, one of those who was appointed for purposes within the first temple to do things under. So they got the right people, and by name they brought them all. And so, whew. Don't you hate that when you're about to go on a trip, you look around, you don't have something? Yeah. We left Kevin. You get halfway down the road, it's like, I'm not going back. So, but at least they did that. They spent 3 days making sure they were ready. Is preparation important?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Making sure you have the right people important? Yes. Will God provide the right people? Yes, He will. And they were lacking, they got that taken care of, got everybody, got them by name, and then they prepared to actually take off. Verse 21, and I proclaimed a fast there at the river of Hava, that we might afflict ourselves before our God, to seek of him a right way for us, and for our little ones, and for all our substance. Now, how many have ever been going on a trip? I know the same as since you go on a trip, right? Mm-hmm. And I know you're fasting, right? Because that's what I do before every trip. I spend the first 3 days before I leave eating nothing. No. And what kind of trip is this? And I'm talking about going on an airplane or in a car. They're basically traveling over desert areas in 4 months. 4-month trip. And the first thing they do is not eat.
More power to you.
But spending time in what?
Prayer.
Is preparation important?
Yes.
They have to remember why they're going, who they're going for, and to ask him, especially since this next verse, which I love. Why in particular do they need that protection? They need God to watch over them. Verse 22, for I was ashamed to require of the king a band of soldiers and horsemen to help us against the enemy in the way. The first group went back into Cyrus, he sent his military with them. He sent soldiers with them to protect them and make sure they got there okay. This time, Ezra's like, I'm not going to ask for that.
It's not a good witness.
It's not a good witness. Look what he says. I was ashamed to ask for it because we had spoken unto the king, saying, the hand of our God is upon all them for good that seek him. But his power and his wrath is against all them that forsake him. I kept going on and on to the king about how great our God is, how he watches over those who love him, and all this. And now I'm supposed to turn around and say, can you give us some soldiers to protect us? I like it. I like it. So they're going to take a 4-month trip across horrible lands owned by other people, bands of robbers,
With a
vagabonds,
bunch of gold.
with sacks of gold and silver and baths of wine and and oil and salt and all this stuff they've gathered up and all this money and stuff, and they're going to be just traveling by themselves. Not a soldier among them. Let's go.
Right.
But are they prepared? That's why they turn to who? Turn to God. Right? And I think it's a good lesson for all of us. Should we always just run to the world to fix our problems? Run to the world for protection? Run to the world for solve everything? Should we always just run to them, or should we go to the God?
That's what I was control.
But we also shouldn't just like run out in the middle of the road and say,
No, no,
"Have faith."
no, no, no.
Like we should prepare. And,
Yep.
you know, like it's okay to prepare. It's okay to be
Yeah, oh yeah, and they prepared the best they could.
wise
Yep.
and stuff like
I'm
that.
sure they
God
took swords
doesn't-
and everything like that. Yeah,
you
they
know,
prepared, but you know, they want to be a good witness too in this, that their God is bigger than all the things going on, and they're trusting God. And it's always good to trust God. Verse 23. So we fasted and besought our God for this, and He was entreated of us, and they headed out. Dun, dun, dun. But first they said, somebody's got to be in charge of the money. Somebody's got to protect the stuff with their life. Got to make sure somebody's not stealing on a little side, right? Because who else do they have to be aware of? They're themselves. Somebody snitching a little bit, somebody taking a little bit, putting it in their pockets, and things like that. You know, there's human nature here, right? So he put some guys in charge. Verse 24. Then I separated 12 of the chief of the priests, Sherebiah, Hashabiah, and 10 of their brothers with them, and weighed out them the silver and the gold and the vessels, even the offering of the house of our God, which the king and his counselors and his lords and all the Israel there present had offered. And I even weighed unto them into their hands 650 talents of silver. That's heavy. Hope they have a camel. And silver vessels and 100 talents, and of gold and 100 talents, also 20 basins of gold of 1,000 drams, and 2 vessels of fine copper, precious as gold. And I said unto them, You are holy unto the Lord, the vessels are holy also, and the silver and the gold are a freewill offering of the Lord God of your fathers. Watch. Watch them and keep them until we weigh them before the chief priests of the Levites and the chief of the fathers of Israel at Jerusalem in the chambers of the house of the Lord. It's up to you. I measured them out to you, and when we get there, I will expect how much? Exactly the same amount.
Yep.
To weigh them out in front of everybody that this is what we brought. So took the priests and the Levites and the weight of the silver and the gold and the vessels and bring them unto Jerusalem of the house of God. And they did it. Again, this is all about what? Preparation. Right? Making sure you're doing and going on this trip. And did they make it? Anybody want to guess?
Yeah.
Well, the book's here, so I doubt he died in the desert. That's probably not. We got a few more chapters too, so we can't. You know how that works. Ever done that with TV shows? Like, I know he makes it to the end. He's a star. So, you know,
I did that with my mom.
don't be silly.
It's a good show you're watching. It's going to end up this way.
Verse 31. Then we departed from the river of Ahava on the 12th day of the first month to go into Jerusalem, and the hand of our God was upon us. And he delivered us from the hand of the enemy, and of such as lay in wait by the way. Well, does that mean there weren't any? Probably not. But did he deliver them? Yes, he did. And we came to Jerusalem and abode there 3 days. And on the 4th day was the silver and the gold and the vessels weighed in the house of our God by the hand of Maranatha, the son of Uriah the priest. And with him was Eleazar, the son of Phinehas, and with them was Josabad, the son of Yeshua, and Nodai, the son of Benuah, Levite. So, now when it says son of, doesn't mean actual first son of. More likely it's a descendant of. These are, in other words, what? Priests, right? These are the priests. By number and by weight of every one, and all the weight was written at that time. Also the children of those who had been carried away, which were come out of captivity, offered burnt offerings unto the God of Israel, 12 bullocks for all Israel, 90 and 6 rams, 70 and 7 lambs, 12 he-goats for a sin offering, and all this was burnt offering unto the Lord. The first thing they did was what? Offering. The first group, what was the first thing they did when they got there? Built the altar and did an offering. This group, first thing they get there is now waited 3 days, cleansing, got to get that right, and then they what? First thing they did was, let's do an offering for all the people. And they delivered the king's commission unto the king's lieutenants and to the governors on this side of the river, and they furthered the people and the house of God. So they sent them, took those decrees. He's a scribe, maybe along the way, he wrote them out. Hand them to Zerubbabel.
Sure.
Here's what my job is. This is why I'm here on behalf of the king. This is what I'm going to do. All those adversaries, all those other governors and all those others, hand them a copy. So there's no question here. This is what we're doing. This is why we're here. And to the people, this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. We're going to make sure everything above board. So what do we got? All good. Nope.
No?
Because in the short time they've been there, have they already gotten into trouble?
It's instinctive.
Yeah, it just is. It's
It's all around.
So otherwise, why would he even send Ezra, right? They need that hand to remind them. And Ezra was sent to make sure they're following the law, to make sure they know it, and make sure they're following it, and God is going to provide. And as soon as they get there, they're going to see they already have a major problem. Just amongst the people? No. Amongst the leaders? And unfortunately, the Bible says, especially amongst the Levites and the priests. So, that's the problem. How many humans we got here today? It's our
I'm a
problem.
robot.
But how good is God, right?
Amen.
Does He give us every opportunity? Does He give us people to help us? He gives the tools we need. He knows our heart. He knows how easily we're brought away. But that's why He sent Ezra, was to help the people get back on track. And we'll see next week what the problem was and how they got back on track. Are they going to? Yes, they are. And then we'll head into Nehemiah after that and see how they had other problems already. So, any questions about this? This is where we're at. First group went, finally got the temple built with some adversaries and some problems, but they got it done, had the Passover, and then Ezra was sent, and we'll see how he does next week in establishing the law in the land and making sure people are doing what they're supposed to be doing. How much does God care about this? A lot. Should the people care about it? Yes. And again, they have the Chronicles that showed the last time, the reason they went into 70 years of banishment was because they refused to change, refused to correct, refused to listen to those who were sent to get back right. So we'll see what they do next week. Do they do what's necessary to get back on track again? I hope so. We'll find out. Tune in next week. Same time, same place. Let's pray.